Are you sitting in a space where you are struggling with anxiety? Do you feel like a prisoner to the cycles of depression? Do you feel stuck in your own life and feel frustrated and lost, but yet you know there is so much more on the other side of this mental breakdown? I want to hold your hand through this therapeutic life healing journey. I will help you navigate emotional healing, spiritual growth, and taking massive action so you can align your mind, body, and spirit to completely transforming your life. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, of stepping into your power and experiencing your breakdown as your breakthrough. Hey, I'm Adit. I'm your therapist, your coach, your mentor. Join me as we heal your life together. Hello, and welcome back to Therapeutic Life Healing with me, Adit. I'm so glad you're here. If you have been returning each week, thank you so much for spending your time with me and checking out the new episodes that come out. If you ever have an idea for a topic, I would love for you to email me at hello@aditc.com. It's also in the show notes. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and leave me a review. I read them. I love reading your reviews and seeing how the podcast is impacting you and your healing journey. If you're new to finding this podcast, welcome. I hope that you browse around and enjoy your stay and hopefully find some episodes on here that can be empowering, relatable, and supportive to you on your healing journey. So today's episode is going to be about the green flags in relationships. You know, we oftentimes hear about all the red flags, what not to do. And so I feel like it's also important to think about what is the green flags? What's the healthy things to look for in any relationship, not just an intimate partner, but to think about friendships, family, and also intimate relationships and significant partnerships. But really just taking this episode to look at the green flags and start to think about the relationships in your life that you're often around most of the time. This also would include working relationships. So relationship with your boss, your coworkers, and other significant people that you spend a lot of your time with. Before we dive into that episode though, I like me to go over some hellos to the countries that are tuning in. I love seeing where you're tuning in from, and I just pull up my little statistic graph and check out where you're tuning in from. So I see all my friends out in California, Washington, Florida. I see friends out in Minnesota, Texas, Arizona, Illinois, Pennsylvania, just to name a few out in the US. And I see friends out in Canada, British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, friends out in Australia, they're in Queensland and New South Wales and Western Australia, and friends from around the world, all parts of this earth that we all occupy, and friends out in Japan and the Philippines and Colombia and Germany, and friends out in Romania, Mexico, Kenya, and Spain, just to name a few. Okay, so now let's get ready to dive in today's episode. So I want you to be thinking about wherever you are, if you're on a walk right now, if you're chilling in your bed, on the couch, if you are on a run, a workout, if you're multitasking, maybe you're cooking and maybe making some fresh cookies, making your second pot of coffee, whatever it is. Just start thinking about some relationships in your life, some significant ones, people that you're around most of the time with. Like this could be people that you live with, people that you work with, people in your family. And we're going to start looking at the green flags in those relationships. So number one, it's super key. It's self-responsibility for their actions, for their words, for their behavior. None of us are perfect. I'm not, you're not, neither are our loved ones. And it's okay. It doesn't even exist to be this perfect human being. I mean, we're all learning and figuring things out as we go. And it's important that along the way, we just adopt this value that we're going to take self-responsibility for ourselves. And so that looks like apologizing. It looks like paying attention and listening and really hearing the other person out about how they experienced you. And if you're experiencing them a certain way that doesn't feel good, if they're open to hearing that feedback, and then they take self-responsibility over their actions, that they validate your experience. And, you both try to figure out what you can do differently moving forward that really creates an opportunity to learn and do better next time. And this doesn't apply to people who are in an abusive relationship. I want to be very clear. If you are in a domestic violent relationship, this does not apply. These green flags are not applicable in a relationship that has abuse. So that's first. Self-responsibility, I think, is key and foundation, that both people come to the table and say, hey, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, but can we just start being accountable for ourselves and our actions? Second, these relationships support your personal growth. That's a green flag. You want to have people around you who support your personal growth, who are on the journey, not necessarily, with you every step of the way, but they understand what's going on. They know what's important to you. They know that this, whatever your healing journey, your growth journey that you're on, that it matters to you, and they are supporting you, and you get to share how they can support you, and they want to do that for you. Number 3, when you have this kind of interdependent relationships where, you aren't really requiring the other person to make you happy. You aren't requiring the other person, you're not doing that with each other, that you are able to kind of be in this place where you practice self-care regularly, and you with each other encourage it. Who's encouraging your self-care? Who is there for, really cheering you on in your self-care practices and encouraging you or reminding you to engage in them and do them. Another green flag is people who have had long-standing relationships, friendships. So, looking at people who have had friendships for a long time, who have been able to sustain these relationships over maybe a span of a few years, and they've maintained these connections. Another green flag is vulnerability. It's really important to be vulnerable in a relationship. Again, in a healthy, non-abusive relationship. These are all green flags where you feel safe to share your deepest, darkest secrets, your most deep inner thoughts, or if not all at once, but you're working on it. You're able to, a little bit at a time, start opening up in these relationships that feel really safe. And you can do that with each other. The other person is also doing that with you, and you're getting to know them, and you kind of are modeling for each other this vulnerability. And it takes a lot of strength and courage to be vulnerable with someone. And so it's a beautiful practice if you can find relationships that feel very safe to do that with. Another green flag is communicating openly, is really looking at, hey, like, do the channels feel like clear and open, or do I feel like restricted? Like, am I walking on eggshells? Those are some red flags that, if we're walking on eggshells, it doesn't feel like expansive. It feels like a restrictive relationship. So we want to have communication flow. It feels, maybe can feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't feel hard in the sense that, like, I'm not going to communicate with this person. And so the green flag is like, oh, like, this person just brings me to ease. Visualize anybody in your life that you have that kind of freedom with, that you can communicate openly with, and they communicate openly with you as well. That's a great green flag. Another is honoring boundaries, that with each other, that you are respecting what each other's boundaries are, both the physical, and we want to think about boundaries in all the ways: physical, mental, emotional, financial, and that you're, not overstepping on each other's boundaries. And so a green flag is, hey, even if I didn't, let's revisit that and have the open communication to really explore, like, what I did that crossed your boundaries, if that makes sense. So a lot of these kind of play off each other, these green flags, right? If there's open communication, then naturally, like if a boundary is crossed, it's okay, it happens. Now we have this, we value open communication, so we can talk about that. And it's not this hard thing that we can't do. It might be uncomfortable, but we can lean into it and we're going to be okay. That's a great green flag. Another great green flag is that you have healthy hobbies, interests, things that you do together, things that you can have fun with. And there's just kind of this playfulness with each other in the relationship. Again, friendships, this can be romantic partners, family, just like people who you can feel like we can entertain, these hobbies. It could be like, hey, we both love playing tennis. We both love going swimming. We both love playing basketball. We both love video games. We both love maybe going on a walk, painting, playing music. I mean, there's just so many things, doing yoga. And we can come together and say like, oh, this is something we both value and it's fun. And we have these healthy hobbies that we do together and it makes your time together much more enjoyable. Another idea for a green flag is being self-reflective. Is the person that you're with or a relationship with, are they reflective? Are they kind of someone who is thinking about how they are being experienced, how they're impacting others? It's connected to empathy and compassion, mindfulness. And, of course, again, none of us are perfect. So it's not saying that they do this every single time, but it's more times than not, right? More days than not. Oftentimes, that they're generally a kind of a mindful, empathetic, compassionate person. And that's a great green flag. Another great green flag is thinking about, is this relationship someone that you feel excited to share your good news with or bad news? If you're going through something, you feel comfortable going to them and sharing with them, your whole self. You're angry, you're upset, you're sad, or if you're happy, you're joyous, you're proud, you can really bring all of your emotions and they are really welcomed and invited. It's not kind of this toxic positivity that's reinforced. It's not just kind of negative Nancy and not almost like feeling not excited to share your good news. And then almost like maybe there's this unspoken competition between you two, and that's not a green flag. So thinking about if you got a promotion, if you booked this awesome new gig, if you are really doing something that you're proud and excited about, and you can call this person and you get to tell them about it, and they're celebrating with you, that means it's a safe relationship that you can share these intimate parts of yourself with them. Another green flag is, there's this kind of unspoken energy and it just feels like you can be real, you can be authentic, the real kind of you around them. And it's not like you're constantly meeting them for the first time, if that makes sense. You're not constantly kind of trying to one up each other. You are just showing up as you are, and that's welcomed. Again, this kind of zero judgment, and you feel really supported in the relationship, and you can bring your whole self to it, right? And they're truly who they are with you too, and you all appreciate that about each other. Another great green flag in these busy times, everyone's got a lot going on, and it's important to have relationships that can feel flexible enough for you to do some things your way without there being anger or resentment or blaming you or thinking like you're a bad person, bad friend for whatever that is. It's really kind of, again, in some ways honoring your boundaries. It's connected to that, but there's this also kind of this extension of being just flexible, that if you need to cancel last minute because whatever, that it's okay. It's acceptable. If you missed a phone call and that person isn't going to be mad it's not going to be mad at you, that, it makes sense that, this kind of like we're all in it together. We're on the same team. There's no worry that they're going to be mad at you. And so it feels like a very go with the flow, flexible relationship, kind of just getting along. There's no grudges. There's no keeping score. It's best when both partners and both people in the relationship can have this ability to let go of kind of their ego and defenses and admit, that I need to take some time for me, or I need you to be flexible. And it's okay. Some other great green flags are really thinking about this person compliments other people behind their back and isn't gossiping about them. That's a really great green flag, right? Because if they're complimenting other people to you, that's likely what is happening consistently. And lastly, a green flag is the other person is also asking how you're feeling, how you're doing. They're genuinely curious about your life, your feelings, what's been going on. They know what you do, like in terms of work. They just kind of have an interest in you and they want to know about you, right? It's not just kind of this one-sided relationship. It's a really great green flag if they just ask you a lot of questions and they're curious about you and want to know more about you. It just generally kind of shows that they care, they're invested, and it's kind of these small acts of kindness that can go a long way. So those are, in summary, some great green flags, and thinking about relationships in your life and who you spend a lot of time with, and starting to just appreciate the people who are giving you these green signs, these green flags, and just thank them for it. It's always just really kind of a nice reminder to the other person that you appreciate them. Just tell them like, hey, I've just been reflecting that I really appreciate this, this, and this about you. Just be as specific as you can. Maybe name some of these green flags that you notice about that person and just tell them directly. It can go a long way. It can just feel really nice and really kind of reinforce that it can really reinforce that dynamic, and they know that you appreciate that. They'll feel seen and heard for something that they are kind of just doing probably just naturally. And also be thinking about what ways you are showing some of these green flags in your relationships as well. And, it goes both ways. A relationship takes two people to show up and really kind of take this accountability that you're going to be kind and compassionate and supportive to each other. That really makes a relationship go a long way. All right, my friends, I hope that this episode has been helpful in highlighting some green flags in the relationships in your life. And be sure to leave me a review, subscribe to the podcast. And if you have any ideas for a topic, feel free to reach out. Email me at hello@aditc.com. It's also in the show notes. If you're on social media, be sure to come on over and say hi. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, and just let me know that you are tuning in from wherever you are and how these episodes might be helpful in your healing journey. Until next time, I hope that you take good care of yourself and take good care of each other. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I trust that you took away some gems, some highlights for yourself in this episode. And I want to invite you to dive deeper with me if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one personalized healing session where we can really dive deeper into what's coming up for you, what you're struggling with, if you're in a place of transition in your life, whether that's relationships, careers, if you're struggling with boundaries. And we can really unpack that together and create a breakthrough session for you. Go ahead and email me at hello@aditc.com. That's hello@aditc.com. It's also in the show notes. I also offer a virtual master course. That's a therapeutic life healing master course that's virtual, self-paced at home. And it's guided with slides and videos of me really walking you through a 3-week structured program that will help you learn about boundaries, understand fear in the brain and how it has shown up in your life. There's journal prompts and guided meditations. So go to aditsi.com and click on Virtual Master Course to see the curriculum today. And you can enroll wherever you are in the world right away and start in the comfort of your own home today. If you found any value in today's episode, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. I'd love to hear from you and what you think. And I hope that you take care of yourself on your healing journey and take care of each other.